Can't hear you, Micah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting here on this Friday night. We're here to do some breaking news coverage of this ruling that came out tonight. A district court judge, I believe, came out with a ruling which has had the practical effect of temporarily halting either some or all, it's not clear yet, of President Trump's travel ban executive order from earlier this week. So if you remember, that executive order did a few things. It said that there could be no refugees coming into the country for 4 months from any country. It said that there could be no Syrian refugees indefinitely. And then it also said from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, it listed the countries, there will be no immigrants at all, refugees or non-refugees, for the next 90 days. And it is unclear right now. I have been watching the news coverage. I was out and I saw this on the news, and as I was coming in here, I was watching the various networks cover it, like CNN and MSNBC. Even people on those networks do not know yet exactly what this judge's ruling means. There seems to be some debate on whether this ruling either temporarily halts just that one part of the executive order that said no immigrants at all from those 7 predominantly Muslim countries, or does it temporarily halt the whole executive order? And I saw people disagree about this on TV as of like 10 minutes ago. So what we're going to do now is, I don't even believe there's a written ruling out. There was something like a verbal report of this ruling, some kind of report, but there had not been like the full written ruling released. So people don't have that. That might come out tonight. It might not, from what I heard. I heard the White House might respond to this tonight. They might not respond. So a lot we don't know right now. So pardon me as we do this broadcast for my lack of information, but I'm trying to just get what information is out there. Let me say this, as we go tonight and cover this, if you want to write to me, if you find, like, for example, any really good links, good articles explaining what's going on with the situation, you can go to Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner, and you can direct message me, and I'll get your direct message. What I'm going to initially do here, I think, is sort of just go over a couple of the articles I found which explain things, but I think you'll see even those articles, like, don't explain a bunch. So, the basic idea of what happened tonight is a judge issued some kind of ruling which had the practical effect of temporarily halting either some or all of President Trump's travel ban. Now, let me see here. What I want to do right now is read to you a couple things that I have found that I thought were helpful. So the first thing I'm going to read to you is, this is an article from the Wall Street Journal. I hope this is covered by fair use. I assume it is. I am crediting you, Wall Street Journal. And this is an article by Wall Street Journal, and it's by Devlin Barrett, and it came out at 9:25 p.m. And the headline is, Federal Judge Temporarily Halts Trump Order on Immigration Refugees. And the subheadline is, Ruling Applies Nationwide, Details Not Yet Released. So this is the latest article from the Wall Street Journal, and it says details not yet released. So let me read some of this article just so you can hear what the Wall Street Journal and Devlin Barrett say is going on. The article says as follows. A federal judge in Seattle issued a ruling that temporarily blocks President Donald Trump's executive order on immigration and refugees, a decision that applies nationwide to tens of thousands of people holding visas to travel to the U.S. The ruling by U.S. District Judge James Robart added a fresh round of confusion to a series of legal challenges to the president's order. A week ago, Mr. Trump signed an executive order suspending immigration from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen, for at least 90 days, calling it a needed move to keep terrorists from entering the U.S. The executive order said the government would continue to process requests. All right, so I'm continuing this article. This is this Wall Street Journal article that just came out. I'm trying to get to more about the exact ruling that came tonight. Let's see here. The suit that led to Judge Robart's ruling tonight was filed by the state of Washington. The state's Attorney General, Bob Ferguson, said after Friday's court hearing, what the judge announced today is nationwide. The president's executive order does not apply. So from that quote from the Washington Attorney General, that quote would suggest that what the judge ruled today puts a temporary halt on all of President Trump's executive order nationwide. But again, as I said, this is subject to question because no one has seen this written order yet as far as I'm aware. Let's see if anything else is here. Okay, so that's from the Wall Street Journal. Let's go over this again. The Wall Street Journal says there was a federal judge in Seattle that issued a ruling today that temporarily blocked President Trump's executive order. And then we have a quote from the suit was brought by the state of Washington, which is, I'm guessing, why the judge was in Seattle who ruled on this. And Washington's Attorney General Bob Ferguson claimed after the court hearing today that the judge's ruling applies nationwide, and that, quote, the president's executive order does not apply. But we don't have confirmation of, is it some of the executive order? Is it all of the executive order? We don't know. So again, I just want to cite that was an article from the Wall Street Journal by Devlin Barrett. So we are here giving breaking news coverage. And to repeat, we are covering a judge's ruling tonight. I don't know exactly what time of the day the judge ruled, but a federal judge in Seattle gave a ruling which has had the practical effect, we don't know yet, of blocking some or all of President Trump's executive order on travel bans from a few days ago. So we're kind of waiting for stuff to come in, details to come in about this. There was also a story, well, let me actually go. The Washington Post had an article too. So I'm going to read to you, I just gave you some of the Wall Street Journal's article. The Washington Post has something on their website, on their front page. And let me give you a little maybe this will give us some more information. And the headline of this article from the Washington Post is, Federal Judge Temporarily Blocks Trump's Entry Order Nationwide. And this is by Matt Zapotowski, Justin Juvenal, and Ann Marimo. And this was posted tonight at 9:28 p.m. So I'm going to read a bit of this Washington Post article. A federal judge in Washington state declared Friday that he would temporarily block enforcement of President Trump's controversial ban on entry to the United States, a ruling that appears to be broader than others before it, though the precise details have yet to be revealed. So we keep hearing that over and over again, that the details have not been revealed. Judge James L. Robart granted a request from lawyers from the state of Washington who had asked him to stop the government from acting on critical sections of Trump's executive order. The order bars, and it says what the order bars. So this article makes it seem like what the Attorney General, what the lawyer from the state of Washington, the lawyers from the state of Washington were asking for only some of the executive order to be stopped. So it's kind of confusing here what exactly is going on with this ruling. We don't know yet. There was also this thing that happened today. And this is a related story that came out today, and this is related to this whole order thing. These two things are connected. So this story came out today, and I'm reading from the Washington Post here, that Justice and State Department officials revealed Friday that about 60,000 and possibly as many as 100,000 visas have already been revoked as a result of Trump's order. So as a result of Trump's order, there were between 60 and 100,000 visas that people already had but have now been revoked as a result of the order. That came out today. And something I saw people on CNN talking about tonight was this question of, so certain people had a visa. They had permission to come to this country. They were approved. And when Trump's executive order happened, sometime in the last couple of days, these visas were revoked. And there's this question now, does this judge's ruling today reinstate those visas? So if you were like waiting for a flight into this country and you had a visa, and then you found out a couple days ago that your visa was revoked because of the executive order, can you now get on a plane and come to this country because of this ruling? And generally, people on CNN that I heard didn't really seem to know. But what one person said was that her understanding was that even that they would have to like go into the computer system, because I guess if you have a visa, you have some kind of physical thing like a stamp in your passport or something like that. But that alone won't get you in, because they check what they do is they check your records. They have this all in computer records, and even no matter what the judge's order is, if your visa has been revoked, until the proper authorities go back in the computer system and officially reinstate your visa, you can't come into the country. So there seems to be a lot of confusion now about if you were outside of the country and you were going to come in, and then this travel ban happened and you can't come in, and now you might be confused as to whether you can come into the country or not, like while this judge's ruling holds. There's lots of confusion about that. So we're going to try to catch you up as much as we can here, doing our best. To repeat, we're here at Right Side Broadcasting. I'm Steve Lookner. We're covering this breaking news that just came out about an hour or so ago, that a judge issued a ruling, a judge in the state of Washington, a federal judge, which has had the effect of either partially or fully, or it has had the effect of temporarily putting on hold part or all of President Trump's executive order travel ban. And this is a real big deal. I mean, so as you probably remember, this travel ban got a lot of publicity. There's been a lot of controversy about it. And, there was some criticism of the administration that this travel ban was not, was maybe hastily put together or not approved by, they didn't let as many people see it before as they should have, or it should have been written differently. And the administration has been fighting back on this. Let's see. This is an update. Thank you, Micah. So we have an update from Micah. The Border Patrol ordered airlines to board immigrants from these countries. Is that what you said, Micah? Yes. So apparently from this news, what's going on here is that remember there was this part of the executive order that said no immigrants at all, refugees and otherwise, from these 7 predominantly Muslim countries. And I guess from what I had just been reported to me by Micah, my producer, that he said that Border Patrol is now telling airlines to board immigrants from these 7 countries. If that's true, that's a very major change, because up to this judge's ruling, up till today, all week since this executive order, not a soul, no one from those 7 countries could come to this country. So it sounds like, and I'm going to go to Twitter and see if I can get this confirmed somewhere else, but I trust my producer, Micah, but I want to see if there's anything out there on this. It sounds like the Border Patrol is telling airlines to board these people, and that kind of creates a very chaotic situation if that's happening. Micah, I hear you in my ear. Are you going to say something? It's okay if you're not. I just want to make sure. Okay, so Micah also said he has just heard it reported that Border Patrol will now start reinstating visas. And I should clarify that point. So this whole thing with the visas I just heard about recently, and it's a whole other story that happened today. And basically what happened is, after this executive order, apparently during this week, like 60,000 to 100,000 visas people had to already come here were revoked. They were taken away, so people didn't have them anymore. And I guess from what Micah said is now Border Patrol is restoring them. So this presents kind of a chaotic situation. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you were a student who was in this country from Iran, and you were back home visiting your family. And while you were back home, this executive order happened. And because this executive order happened and you're an Iranian citizen and you're out of this country, you cannot come back in. Now, if you're one of these people in one of these countries, in Iran or one of these other 6 countries, that this executive order to apply to, this part of it, no immigrants can come in whatsoever. Right now, if you hear about this ruling and you're hearing like, wow, they're letting people on planes, do you like rush to the airport and try to get on a plane because if maybe you can get into this country and maybe like it'll be a few days and maybe on Monday a higher court or like I don't know the whole mechanics of this if it needs to go to the Supreme Court now, but maybe in a few days this judge's ruling will be overturned, and you might think, is there like a 3-day window or a couple-day window where I can get back into the U.S.? It's like my one time. So I don't know, but I'm guessing if Border Patrol is letting people board airlines for this country from these 7 countries that might lead to some of a chaotic situation in these countries of people trying desperately to get on these flights because they might think this is my one chance to get back in until 90 days from now or however many days it will be until the executive order is gotten rid of and they actually let people back in the country again from those 7 countries. So just an interesting consideration to think about. Once again, I should say it again, we're here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and we came on live tonight to report the breaking news that, what do we know? A federal judge in Seattle today issued an order, issued a ruling, and that ruling temporarily halted either some or all of President Trump's executive order travel bans, the executive order that called for these travel bans earlier this week. We don't know how much of that executive order has been temporarily halted. We've also heard it reported that the Border Patrol is now being ordered to let immigrants from the 7 countries from which the travel ban said no immigrants can come for 90 days. Border Patrol is now being ordered to let people on planes come into this country from those countries, at least for now. And we've also heard that there were between 60 and 100,000 visas that were revoked that people had. I'm not sure from which countries at this moment, but as a result of this travel ban, we've also heard that the Border Patrol has been started reinstating those visas that had been revoked. I should also point out that a reason that we're not exactly sure what effect this judge's ruling has is, last I have heard, the judge's written ruling has not come out yet. People are aware of what the judge's ruling said in general somehow. Maybe it was people who were in the court, or maybe it got released in some shortened fashion. But my understanding is until the written order comes out, and I heard that could come out tonight or tomorrow, there won't be clarity exactly on what parts, whether part or all of President Trump's travel ban has been temporarily halted. And also, it is unclear whether the White House will have some response to this tonight. So if you want to write to me while we are on the air, you could, if you have any comments, I'm happy to read them. Also, if you have any links you think might be helpful, maybe you see a story on paper X or paper Y and you say, hey, this has new information, please let me know. I'm happy to, we love when you help out us cover stuff here. And I am if you want to get in touch with me and contact me while we're on the air, I'm at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER, and you can direct message me. So I just want to check, when we cover breaking news, I try to check my Twitter feed once in a while to see what's going on. Okay, so I do, to confirm what Micah had said earlier, and maybe this is where Micah got this, CNN Politics sent out a tweet at 8:45. So this looks like it's 7 minutes ago. This is from CNN Politics, at CNN Politics. And they have a tweet. It says, breaking. Customs and Border Protection told U.S. airlines that it's reinstating visas following a federal judge's halt to Trump's travel ban. So again, after the travel ban, there were a number of people, tens of thousands of people, whose visas, that being official approval to come and stay in this country for a temporary amount of time, had been taken away. And now at least they're reinstating them. But it's a bit of a messy situation, because remember, this judge's ruling came out tonight temporarily halting part of the travel ban. But from what I have heard, this ruling could be overturned. I've heard this could go to the Supreme Court. I'm not sure if somebody else besides the Supreme Court could overturn it before that. So I'm not a legal expert. And from when I was generally watching, as of about from like a half hour ago to about an hour and a half ago, or an hour and 50 minutes ago, I was watching a bunch of CNN, and they had a bunch of experts on, and the experts on their channel didn't even at that point get fully what was going on, and they were kind of speculating on it. So there was a lot of questions, a lot of chaos probably, especially for people who might have been banned temporarily from coming to the country, and now they think maybe they can get in. Let's see if I'm just going over my Twitter now to see if, so I have a post here I'll read you. This is from John Ostrower, and he is the CNN aviation editor. And he posted 13 minutes ago, and this is at John Ostrower, airline source says business as usual is a reference to prior to the ban. Oh, I'm sorry. So there was a previous tweet from Thomas Logan that said business as usual. All right. So I'm sorry. I didn't start at the right place. John Ostrower, about 19 minutes ago, he is CNN's, I believe he's their aviation editor. And 19 minutes ago, he tweeted out, Customs and Border Patrol just wrapped a 9 p.m. Eastern Time call with the airlines. Quote unquote, quote, back to business as usual, unquote, as federal judge in Washington blocks travel ban. So we have Customs and Border Patrol saying back to business as usual, and an airline says business as usual is referenced to prior to the ban. So it sounds like from what John Ostrower was saying on his Twitter feed that, oh wow, okay. And John Ostrower also tweeted out just moments ago, just a few minutes ago, the travel advisories on airline websites are set to come down. So it sounds like from John Ostrower, who is CNN's aviation editor, that airlines as of now are back to where they were before the travel ban. So no restrictions on people coming in that weren't there before the travel ban. And supposedly soon, if they're not down already, there aren't even going to be travel advisories for the countries affected by the ban up on the airlines' websites. Which is pretty fascinating because it's my understanding that this could be reversed in some way at some point soon. So you might have, it could be crazy with like, for a time now, it seems like there's business as usual, but maybe in a couple days or something, or sooner or a little later, it won't be business as usual. So it's a very, very fluid situation right here. I'll just take a second and say, this is another interesting aspect of this is how President Trump will react. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head, so a really interesting question to me right now that just occurred to me is, will President Trump tweet about this tonight? Is he going to send out an angry tweet? Because right now we have something where this is clearly an executive order he really cared about. Not that he doesn't care about all of them, but this was an important executive order to him. It was a campaign promise of sorts that he would do something with immigration of refugees and immigrants in general to protect the country. And now this executive order, at least temporarily, has been halted by a judge. And you have now, like if President Trump goes on his computer right now, he'll see that the airlines are taking down their travel advisories, and he's getting these reports, I'm sure, in the White House. Hey, it's business as usual at the airlines. They're not stopping people from coming on due to the travel ban anymore. I'm guessing this upsets the president, but will he tweet? It's an interesting moment. If he tweets, will he tweet angrily or will he not tweet angrily? Will he give some kind of speech tonight? Will Sean Spicer say something tonight? So in addition to the whole, I guess you could say this is an interesting moment and an important moment in his presidency because it's the first time he's given some order that's been halted by the judicial system. And how will he react to that? It probably will give us some insight into what the next 4 years will be like, possibly. So a lot of interesting stuff happening here. And we have Micah, our producer, outside as well, keeping an eye on things too. So if he sees anything, he will let me know. And if you want to reach me during this broadcast, at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER, direct message me. If you have a comment on what's going on, I'd love to hear it because we don't just. Part of what we like to do here at Right Side Broadcasting is have you involved and have a dialogue with you. We don't want to just talk at you. So I'd love to hear any comments you might have about this situation. We are kind of looking through the web and trying to find interesting links and tweets about what the ongoing situation is. If you find something that you think we should know about, give a shout. And actually, I will say this. But if you want to give me a shout and let me know about this, at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER, and direct message me. I was, when I had gone home initially, and I'd just gone home a little while ago, and when I was out, I actually had noticed this and so I saw that this was happening. I saw the initial reports on CNN and stuff. But right after I saw the initial reports, a couple people from viewers of Right Side actually tweeted me, direct messaged me, and they told me this is going on. They gave me a heads up, so I appreciate that because I think Teresa Mycia might have been one of them, if I'm getting the name right. But they wanted to let me know in case I hadn't heard that this breaking news was happening because I like to, as you know, if you've watched this me before, I do like covering and bringing you guys breaking news, and we do here in general at Right Side Broadcasting. So any kind of comments that are happening, going on about that involve this whole judge's order situation, let me know, please. Okay, so let me get back to Twitter for a second, because it seems like there are some updates coming out, and I want to just see if there's anything new here. Let's see. I'm just going through my Twitter here, and I'm also going to go through the newspapers again. Okay, so B&O News, one of the sites I really like to follow for breaking news, they have a couple tweets out about this. So this is what B&O News says, at B&O News. 18 minutes ago, breaking, B&O News, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, USCBP, informs airlines it will begin reinstating visas after federal judge blocks Trump's executive order for now. That was from CNN by way of B&O News. B&O News 7 minutes ago reports U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency has told airlines to board travelers who were affected by Trump's executive order. And this is, so for example, these are travelers from any of the 7 predominantly Muslim countries, Iran, Iraq, Somalia, and Sudan. There were 3 others I can't remember at the moment. But people from those countries could not get on airplanes and come here after the executive order. And this is a really big switch. I mean, as of right this second, they are allowed on planes. And an interesting thing about that is I have to imagine that these people who had previously, from the travel ban, been banned from coming here, for a certain amount of time, were not at airports ready to get on planes. So it's not I don't think it's the case that, say, in an airport in Iran right now, there's a plane waiting to take off, and there was like 50 Iranians waiting to get on board, because as far as they come to the U.S., because as far as they knew, as of 2 hours ago, they couldn't come to the U.S. So when it says that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency has told airlines to board travelers who are affected by Trump's executive order, I'm guessing what that by and large means is that, okay, hey, airports, that airports maybe from in Iran or countries or like Iraq or these countries might start scheduling flights again, or if they had flights, people who thought they couldn't get in might rush to the airport now, because they didn't think they could get in before. And if you're somebody in one of these countries, you think, now's my big chance to go. So you just throw something in a suitcase and you rush as fast as you can to the airport, and you just try to get on whatever plane you can, because right now they're letting you come into the country and they weren't letting you before. So perhaps, I don't know for sure, but perhaps a chaotic situation of sorts is happening in these countries that were affected by this travel ban. Andrew S. says, Steve, you really should stop citing CNN. How about CNN, Fox News? Just hearing CNN annoys me. Here's why I'm citing, there's a couple reasons I'm citing CNN. One reason I was citing CNN is previously tonight, when I had all the different networks on, Fox News was not covering the story live. So I was talking about some stuff I saw earlier, and mostly the channel I had been watching was CNN. In terms of what I'm citing, I cite everything because I wanted you to know where I'm getting the information from. And I'm just going through my tweets and getting the information that I'm seeing posted. If Fox News posts something interesting, I will definitely cite that as well. So I'm not picking and choosing. I am not picking and choosing the information to give you by by source X is giving it or source Y. I'm picking you from my Twitter feed what I think the best, most relevant information is for you, but I want to cite it. So I'm sorry, Andrew, and others people out there, if hearing the word CNN bother you, but I would rather cite than not cite where I'm getting this information from. Let's see. Okay, we have a comment from Candy Jersey Girl. Candy Jersey Girl writes, I hope these people come to the judge's town. I think by these people, Candy Jersey Girl means the refugees and immigrants. I hope these people come to the judge's town. How can a federal judge override at POTUS executive order? WTH, what the heck? That's a comment from Candy Jersey Girl. Thank you for your comment. Let's see if there's any other comments. If you want to send your comments in, happy to read them at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER, and you can direct message me. So, excuse me while I just move my microphone a little bit. So, I should return now briefly and summarize what the breaking news is we're covering. So, if you remember, earlier this week, President Trump issued an executive order which was a travel ban. And it had several different parts saying, it said that, and I won't go through all the 3 parts right now, but it restricted refugees and immigrants from various countries from coming into the country. And there's three parts of the ruling, and maybe I'll go over it in a second, but I just want to get to the breaking news. The breaking news was that a judge in Washington today issued a ruling of some sorts which put a temporary halt on either some or all of President Trump's travel ban. And it's not clear yet how much of the travel ban this judge's ruling halted. Is it halting some of the travel ban or halting all of it? And that's because the written ruling from the judge has not been released yet. So there's confusion about this. We do know also that the Customs and Border Patrol, I believe it's called, CP. I have to get this right. I have to go back to my Twitter. So let me just go back. The U.S., it's the CBP, the Customs and Border Protection Agency. They have told airlines to board travelers who previously were being restricted by Trump's executive order from coming here. I don't know if that means all travelers, or travelers from part of the ruling. So the ruling had three parts to it. The executive order had three parts. One part was no refugees from anywhere for 4 months, or for 120 days come into this country. Another part was no Syrian refugees indefinitely. And the third part was for 90 days, no immigrants whatsoever from 7 different countries. No citizens of those countries can come in here. And it was Iran, Iraq, Somalia, Sudan, and there were 3 others. Perhaps Yemen was one, but I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. You can look it up if you need it, and then I'll try to get it later for you. And we don't know. So a question I have here is, when the Customs and Border Protection Agency is saying, hey, airlines, board people now, do they... See, here's what's confusing. If the Customs and Border Protection Agency, like all of us, don't know whether part or all of the travel ban has been halted, how do they know who to tell to let on airplanes? Because say it turns out that the only part of the travel ban that's been halted temporarily is the part that says no immigrants from these 7 countries. That would leave it in effect the refugee ban for 120 days. So for example, if there was a refugee from, pick a country, from Brazil. Say there's a refugee from Brazil. That person is not affected by the part of the executive order that says no people from these 7 countries can come, but they are affected by the part of the executive order that says no refugees from 120 days can come. And if it's not clear yet whether part or all of the executive order has been put on hold, what does the Border Patrol Agency, what is the airline supposed to do about the person in the refugee from Brazil who wants to come here now? Because it seems to me the Border Patrol, or the Customs and Border Protection Agency doesn't know whether that part of the executive order affecting the refugee in Brazil has been halted or not. So what are they supposed to tell the airline? It seems to me that they shouldn't tell the airline anything yet because they don't know if that part of the ruling has been halted yet. So I'm a little confused by this report that the Customs and Border Protection Agency has told airlines to just let anyone who was, as far as I understand what they're telling people, what they're telling the airlines, hey, let people board just as if there were no executive order. But I don't see how they should do. It seems to me that they shouldn't do that until they're sure that all of the executive order has been halted. Because what if only part of the executive order has been halted? So a lot of confusion going on right now over various things. And I should say again, if you'd like to comment, or if you'd like to share a link, or share a tweet, or share some information with us, @Lookner is my Twitter handle. And you can direct message me on Twitter, and I will get your comment. So what I'm going to do right now is do a quick check of my Twitter feed and see. Okay, this is fascinating. Is this really his tweet? Okay, this is really fascinating. I consider this kind of breaking news of a sort. 58 seconds ago, President Trump sent out a tweet. It has nothing to do with the judge's ruling or his executive order. This is the tweet Donald Trump sent out from @RealDonaldTrump 58 seconds ago. It says, countries charge U.S. companies taxes or tariffs while the U.S. charges them nothing or little. We should charge them same as they charge us. So this tweet sent out by the president as of a minute ago is about taxes and tariffs and how and our tariff policy towards other countries, about like economic policy. And it is fascinating to me. It is absolutely I can genuinely use the word fascinated and say I am fascinated that 2 minutes ago, while all this is going on, if you turn on the major news networks, they're covering this. There's this whole big story, breaking news. Judge temporarily halts some or all of Trump's executive order that included travel bans on immigrants and refugees. That while this is happening, 2 minutes ago, President Trump sends out a tweet about economic policy. How do we interpret this? Is this his way of saying, I don't really care about the judge's order? And it's so unimportant to me, I so don't care. I'm just going to send out a tweet about something else? If not, that certainly is a possibility. I have to imagine at this point he's heard about this judge's ruling. I can't imagine he hasn't. So will he maybe send out a tweet about this after? I'm just seeing if he sent out any other tweets. But he didn't. The previous tweet before this was 4 hours ago. And if you go to Donald J. Trump, at real Donald J. Trump, this is fascinating. 4 hours ago was the last tweet. And then 2 minutes ago, you see a tweet and you think, oh, well, he must be tweeting about the judge's ruling about his executive order. But he's not. He's tweeting about economic trade policy, it sounds like. So that's really interesting. And I will say this. I really think that if you were watching the major news networks, none of them, as fast as we did, reported on this President Donald Trump tweet, which just came out, and pointed out how interesting it is he just came out with this. So I give Right Side some props for that. So we're constantly checking Twitter here. Okay, now this is also fascinating. Wow. So we have, and I think I just pulled out my feedback from Micah, so let me put it in. Now I got it again. All right, this is really fascinating. I have another little breaking update here, and this is from BNO News. So as I just said to you, 2 minutes ago, President Donald Trump sent out a tweet that had nothing to do with the judge's order. But also, apparently the White House released a statement of some sort, because at BNO News, 2 minutes ago, reports this. BNO News says, White House calls judge's temporary restraining order outrageous, says the Department of Justice will seek an emergency stay. Okay, so that's important. I need to fix this thing here, which is a little stuck. That's better. Hold on, my earpiece was getting stuck and pulling on me. So, this is more breaking news. This is real breaking news. I'm getting this 2 minutes ago. I can't imagine anyone else has it faster for you. According to at BNO News, 2 minutes ago, the White House called the judge's temporary restraining order, quote, outrageous, and the White House says the Department of Justice will seek an emergency stay. That sounds to me like the Department of Justice is now going out and doing whatever they can to get a stay, which sounds like it would nullify the judge's ruling from today. So I'm imagining if the Department of Justice gets this emergency stay, then the judge's ruling from today doesn't take effect, and the travel ban stays in effect. So this is such a fluid situation. So as we heard, as of 20 minutes ago, the Customs and Border Patrol Agency was telling airlines to let people on who'd been previously affected by the travel ban. But what happens if later tonight, I don't know, this emergency stay is granted? So then the airlines have to stop people from getting on the planes that they had let on for like 2 hours? And what happens if somebody got on a plane in that time and now they're in flight? What happens to them then? And just so much confusion. And I should reiterate, it has not even been confirmed yet whether the judge's ruling from today temporarily halts some or all of the executive order, and if it's some, what part of it exactly. So this is pretty incredible. There's a lot of, you don't usually see this level of confusion when involving stuff involving like executive orders and federal judge rulings about them and Customs and Border Patrol policy. So this is an incredibly fluid situation. Let me just really quickly check my Twitter feed, and I'm really glad we were able to bring you that information quickly. So again, the latest update to me, I want to say these two things, was 5 minutes ago, BNO News reported, White House calls judge's temporary restraining order outrageous, says the Department of Justice will seek an emergency stay. But at the same time, I think this is really important. 6 minutes ago, President Donald Trump sent out a tweet. It's the one tweet he sent out in the last 4 hours, and it has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the judge's order today about his travel ban, which I find fascinating. Okay, we have a comment. Well, Chris Wasson said, Trump tweeted, thank you, Chris, but I beat you to it. I already saw that, but thank you, Chris, for letting me know. If you want to reach me here, have any comments or questions, at Lookner, at Lookner. That is my Twitter address. And what you can do is you can direct message me on Twitter and I will get your message. You can send me comments. I'd love to share your comments with who's watching. And you can send me tips like Chris Wasson just sent me. So thank you, Chris. And comments, questions, tips, send it all in. So let's take stock. This is a very fluid situation. I personally feel that we are offering you the information even faster than you'd be getting this on the networks, but at least as fast, because we're getting it right as it comes up to me. So I would say stay here and watch us if you're interested in the story. But here's what happened. To sum up what we're covering so far. The President Trump issued an executive order several days ago, which was a travel ban on immigrants and refugees from certain countries for certain amounts of time. There were 3 different parts of it. Today, at some point today, a judge in Washington, a federal judge, issued a ruling that put a temporary halt on some or all of this travel ban. We don't know how much yet. I've not heard a clear answer as to how much, whether it's some or all of the travel ban. And a reason for that is that the written order that the judge actually gave today has not been released yet. So some people seem to know, somehow people know something about his order, but they don't have the complete written order. We heard recently, maybe about a half an hour ago, that the Customs and Border Patrol Agency, I believe I'm getting that right, I hope I'm getting that right. Let me go with that for now. The Customs and Border Patrol Agency has told airlines to go back to business as usual as they were before the executive order came out. So as of half an hour ago or whatever, airlines were officially letting anyone on who could get on legally and come to this country before the travel ban came out. And then we heard a very recent report from the White House, that the White House, and this is from at BNO News, and I should just tell you where I'm reporting this because, this is what they're reporting, and so I can't confirm it personally, but I'm reporting what at BNO is reporting. And at BNO News reported 7 minutes ago that the White House called the judge's temporary restraining order outrageous and said the Department of Justice will seek an emergency stay. So apparently the Department of Justice is now going to try to get an emergency stay, which would be a judicial order that puts a stop to the judge's order today. And so if the Department of Justice can get this emergency stay, then the travel ban would still be in effect. But I personally do not know how long an emergency stay takes. Could they get an emergency stay tonight? Could they get it this weekend? Do the people they have to see about this not work on the weekend? So there's all these questions about, will they get an emergency stay? When would it be granted if they do? So lots of confusion going on here. Let's see. Chris Wasson writes in a question, how is it possible for a judge to stop the president? Isn't the president their boss? So my basic understanding here is that the state of Washington, along with other states, but the relevant state today was the state of Washington, filed some sort of lawsuit which claimed that the executive order was unconstitutional. And the judge's ruling today, and there's a little more to this, but my understanding was that the judge could issue some kind of order temporarily halting the executive order if this federal judge, thought that there was some decent chance of this suit winning, again, of this suit saying that the executive order was unconstitutional. Now, there's lots of legal detail here, which I don't have in my hands and I don't have in my brain, and so I can't give you at this moment. But my basic understanding of what happened is that the state of Washington sued in a federal court because they said that the executive order was unconstitutional. And this judge thought that the state of Washington had a decent chance enough of winning this suit that the judge put a temporary halt on the executive order. So And there is in this country, to answer your question, Chris, the judicial, there's checks and balances between the different branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial. And one of there are checks of the judicial has on, for example, the executive, who would be the president. President would be in the executive branch. And the judicial branch can stop things that by saying they're unconstitutional. So that would be the general idea of why the judicial branch, a federal judge can put a stop, at least a temporary stop in this case, to an executive order by the president. We have here, okay, so we're covering breaking news. Let me check my Twitter again. Let me see, because when I check my Twitter, okay, Sean Spicer. We have a text. We have a tweet from Sean Spicer, which came out 3 minutes ago. Sean Spicer is the president's press secretary. Sean Spicer is now, wow, this is really cool. Okay, fantastic, good. Sean Spicer is, as of right now, tweeting a series of 6 tweets. They have not come out yet. I will read the tweets as they come out. First tweet from Sean Spicer, 4 minutes ago, reads as follows. Statement on the Washington court ruling. So it sounds like Sean Spicer is reading a White House statement or some sort of statement from the White House. Statement from the Washington court ruling. First tweet. At the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of the order. Okay, I'm sorry. So just to clarify what's going on, there has been a White House statement about this ruling, and Sean Spicer right now is tweeting a series of tweets, and only 3 of the 6 have come out. And okay, he's now tweeted 4 of the 6. All right, what I'm going to do is read you the statement according to Sean Spicer's tweets as they've come out now. This is the White House statement according to Sean Spicer. At the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of the order and defend the executive order of the president, which we believe is lawful and appropriate. The president's order is intended to protect the country, and he has the constitutional authority and responsibility to protect the American people. As the law states, quote, whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all. And I'm waiting for Sean Spicer to tweet his last tweet so I can... He is tweeting out this statement. We are getting it to you as Sean Spicer in real time tweets it out. He hasn't finished tweeting out the White House statement yet, so I can't give it to you. I'm waiting for his last tweet. He is still, the 5th one was 29 seconds ago. Interestingly, he at first thought this was going to be 5 tweets, and then he changed it to 6, which you can see if you go to @PressSec, @PRESSSEC. You can get these tweets with me. I'm waiting on Sean Spicer. He hasn't tweeted out that last tweet yet. As soon as he tweets it out, I will give it to you. So I am giving you the latest updates as we get them here from Sean Spicer's Twitter feed. I love it. And this is really, this is how Twitter empowers us, empowers journalists, because we don't have to be a big, fancy network with fancy buildings to get these information firsthand as it comes out. Oh, and he just tweeted it out. Sean Spicer, the last tweet was, let me say the last tweet, the last part of the executive order, and then I'll read the whole thing. The last tweet of the White House statement is, aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants or impose on entry of aliens any restrictions may deem to be appropriate. Okay, so here is the full White House statement that literally seconds ago just came out via Sean Spicer's Twitter. This is the White House statement on the judge's order today. Sean Spicer, the White House statement says, here it is, at the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of the order and defend the executive order of the president, which we believe is lawful and appropriate. The president's order is intended to protect the country, and he has the constitutional authority and responsibility to protect the American people. As the law states, quote, whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on entry of aliens any restrictions may deem to be appropriate. And it's pretty interesting, when he said may deem to be, Sean Spicer wrote 2 by the number 2 and B by the letter B. So, what can we read from this White House statement? So the first thing I noticed is that the White House statement begins at the earliest possible time the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of the order. So, remember, the judge today in Washington issued an order which puts a temporary halt on some or all of the travel ban. We had heard a report earlier saying that the Department of Justice was already pursuing an emergency stay. But what Sean Spicer tells us is that it seems like the pursuit of the emergency stay hasn't really gone into motion yet, because he says at the earliest possible time, which implies not now, at some later time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay. All right, let me say this too. It doesn't say the Department of Justice intends to ask for an emergency stay. It says the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay. So does that mean the Department of Justice doesn't have to go to anyone and do this, if they can just do this on their own? Because it says intends to file an emergency stay. I don't know if somebody has to approve this Department of Justice's filing of an emergency stay. So, but from the first part of the statement, it seems that the action the Department of Justice is going to take to put a stay on the judge's ruling today hasn't started happening yet. It says at the earliest possible time, and they intend to do this. So they haven't done it yet. I don't know what the earliest possible time is going to be. So there's that. The second major point made in this White House statement is that the White House believes the executive order is lawful, is constitutional, and appropriate. And the White House statement says, the president's order is intended to protect the country, and he has the constitutional authority to do this, the constitutional authority and responsibility to protect the American people. So they're saying it's within the constitutional responsibility and authority of the president to do something like this executive order to protect the country. And then the last part of the White House statement just quotes the law, and I'm not sure exactly where in the law is this the Constitution, but what part of the law exactly this quotes. But it gives a quote from the law, and it says, whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or any class of aliens to the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or of any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on entry of any aliens any restrictions may deem to be appropriate. So basically, the last part of the White House statement just quotes a part of the law that the White House thinks shows that this executive order is constitutional. So that was pretty fascinating. So we got you that White House statement as it was being tweeted to you by Sean Spicer in 6 parts. We got that to you. So that was kind of neat. Let's see. And Teresa Maisia said, she wanted to give me a heads up that Sean Spicer was tweeting that, but hey, we beat you to it, Teresa, but thank you. Let's see here. So I'm going to ask Micah out there. Micah, if you can hear me, I would love at a certain point to take like a 1 or 2 minute break, but maybe you could come out for a second so the chair is not empty. I don't know if you're even here, if that's possible. Oh, thank you. So what we're going to do in a second is Micah's going to come on and put on the microphone and take a break. And Micah, if you'd like, you can just speak about maybe what your thoughts are on this situation. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. Do you have any thoughts on the executive order that you'd like to give? So feel free. So I'm going to welcome you. I'm going to leave for a second, and Micah, the producer, is going to take my seat for a second and give me a break. And Micah produces a lot of our breaking news coverage, and he's been so kind to stick around tonight. And so I just said to Micah, feel free to come down and sit and say what your thoughts on this issue. And I leave you in the hands of Micah for like 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. So Micah, I'm going to give you the microphone. Here's the microphone. I'm going to have to take it out of my shirt, Micah. Sorry. So here we go. Hold on a second, Micah. So let me get this all undone for you. Here's the earpiece. So Micah, you sit. You take my place. Yep, you got it? Yep. So this is how we do things here.
Well,
On breaking
we
news
don't
night.
want to do that.
Yes, here you go. So I apologize.
We're limited on 2 people.
You
don't have
two
much
people in the
options.
office. Micah, in a second, I'm going to walk in front of you. I'm going to do a naughty.
Yeah, that's fine.
So excuse me while I do a naughty and walk in front of the camera. Thank you, Micah. I'll be right back. You are on.
All right, thank you. So, folks, my name is Micah. I'm the executive producer here. So, basically, he asked me to come on here with no warning to give you my opinion on the entire issue that's facing the country right now with Trump signing this executive order to ban immigrants from these 7 countries. My personal opinion is it is like a Band-Aid on an entire solution. So it's a partial solution to the huge problem of Islamic terrorism. I see where Trump's coming from. I also see the complaints from people, why they have these complaints. But for me, I see this as a good thing. And the reason I see that coming from a military perspective, I am in the military, the concept that I see is this is a temporary halt to stop the current influx that we have of Islamic terrorists into our country, so that we can get a grasp on how to actually defeat this ideology of Islamic terrorism instead of continuing to allow these people to come into our country, even though the majority obviously are not Islamic extremists who want to destroy all of us. A majority of them, I would say, are peaceful people, but there are those few that have this extremist point of view. And so it is important to stop these people from coming into the country so that we can address the major issue of Islamic terrorism on a global front. And so I see this as a good move. Obviously, there's a lot of complaints out there about halting immigration and all this kind of things. But I think a lot of times what get lost is that this has been done multiple times. It's not unprecedented. You can point to Jimmy Carter during the whole Iran crisis. Even Barack Obama did a similar thing, not the same. And it goes back in time for many years, including during World War II, when all Japanese people were actually put in concentration camps in the United States, and no Japanese people could immigrate to the United States, even if they were seeking refuge status. They were still not allowed to come in. So this is not unprecedented of a thing. So it's not something to be really up in arms with, I think. Again, this is a temporary ban. It's not a forever ban. I believe this is like a 90 days, 120-day ban. It's not like we're ending immigration entirely. The idea is to understand the problem and then create a solution. This is giving us a break to allow us to create an effective solution to the entire problem. If we continue going as we are, we're just going to put Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid, and eventually that's just all going to break apart. I did also want to give us a little plug here for fundraising. Steve asked me to do that. We are currently fundraising right now to be able to cover all the press briefings, all the news briefings, all the different speeches President Trump gives, all these hearings, all these things. We want to be able to cover all of this for you. And the only way we can do that is by getting either legal access to the feeds or getting enough cameramen and camera people out there with access to bring you this coverage. And the only way we're going to do that, and as sad as it makes me to realize that this is how it is we have to get a certain amount of money. And our GoFundMe has that amount listed there, and what we're trying to do is there. The entire reasoning's there. So any amount you give is obviously beneficial towards us and eventually towards you, as we'll be able to provide this coverage that you have been asking for. Almost daily I see emails asking us to cover the press briefings or the news briefings, and trust me, we want to. We have a huge desire to do that. But the only way we're able to do that is if we get enough funds to be able to do that. This business, I think a lot of times people don't understand this business is a really expensive business. It's not like you're shelling out a couple $1,000s. We're shelling out tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to provide coverage for you. And that's why we have that certain amount in the GoFundMe that we're asking for. Now, obviously, alongside of all of this comes the concept of bringing in advertisers and sponsors. And believe me, we are 100% okay with bringing on advertisers and sponsors. So if you know someone, or maybe even yourself, own a company and you want to promote yourself or put ads on our network, we are more than willing to work with you, figure out what price range works best for you, and also what package would work best for you. If you want to do that, you can contact our sales at sales@rsbn.tv. Again, that's sales@rsbn.tv. Now, I also want to provide to everyone who can't donate or may not have a company or whatever, we want your feedback. We want to hear what you have to say about our broadcast, what you want to see from us, and you can do that by sending us an email at feedback@rsbn.tv. You send us that information and we will respond to you as soon as we can and do our best to accommodate what you're asking for. But again, we're limited on what we can do based upon funds. Now, with me throwing that pitch out there, let me get back to the issue at hand, which is Trump's executive order. A lot of people have issues with executive orders entirely. Right now we're hearing a big issue. The left is saying that the conservatives have done more executive orders than Obama ever did. I don't know the statistics on that. I don't believe it's the case. But in any case, they are the ones that gave the power to the presidency that he has now. So if they're complaining, it's kind of hypocritical. Just because their guy's not in the office. So this complaint that executive orders are unlawful, where were you the last 8 years? That would be my perspective on that. So Steve's just coming back in, so I'm going to hand it back over to him. You are in good hands with him while I have to go produce 2 shows that are going on right now, including this live broadcast and Mike Cernovich, which I encourage you, if you're watching this right now, after you're done watching this, go ahead and check out his pilot episode tonight. His premiere episode will be on Monday at 10 p.m., and I encourage you to watch that. It's going really well, and people are really enjoying it. So I'm going to hand it back over to Steve. It was nice being able to talk to y'all. If you ever want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at Micah_Messer. That's MICAH_MESSER. So thank you. Steve?
All right. Thank you, Micah. Appreciate it. That was really cool of Micah to come in here. Very much appreciated, Micah. Thank you so much. So I just need to take a minute break, and I am back. And let me mic up here. There's that. Sorry, excuse me. I need to put my earpiece in so I can hear Micah if he has any breaking news updates. So let me do that. So bear with me, please, for 1 minute while I get this back on. Thank you so much. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for joining us tonight on our breaking news coverage. And it has really been breaking news coverage. We have been giving you updates as they happen. We gave you the White House statement as it happened. We gave you President Trump's tweet as it happened. We gave you the White House statement as it was happening. Okay, so we're back. Micah, if we're not back, let me know, but I think we're back. And all right, thank you. So, and thank you again to Micah for allowing me to take a break and for producing tonight. Really appreciate it. So, we are covering this breaking news tonight, and things have been happening kind of fast. But just to sum up, to recap what's going on here. A few days ago, this week, President Trump issued an executive order that involved a travel ban on immigrants and refugees. It had several different parts, had 3 different parts. And just earlier today, what happened is a federal judge in Washington issued an order that temporarily halted either some or all of this travel ban. And as far as I'm aware, it's still uncertain whether part or all of the travel ban was temporarily halted, because the written order of the judge has not come out yet. But when that happened, we then saw the Customs and Border Patrol agency, I believe it's called, but they were telling airlines to start, go back to what they were doing as business as usual before the executive order. So airlines were instructed to let people on who had not been let on due to the travel ban. And but then, so that happened, and then just minutes ago, the White House came out with a statement about this, and I will read it to you because I have to go to Sean Spicer's. Sean Spicer tweeted it out in a series of 6 tweets, and so I'm going to go to his Twitter right now, and I'll read you. This is the White House statement that they came out with. At the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of the order and defend the executive order of the president, which we believe is lawful and appropriate. The president's order is intended to protect the country, and he has the constitutional authority and the responsibility to protect the American people. As the law states, and this is the rest of this statement, as the law states, whenever the president finds that the entry of aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on entry of aliens any restrictions may deem to be appropriate. So that was the White House's statement. And the White House's statement suggested that the Department of Justice was going to file an emergency stay of the order. I don't know if that means the Department of Justice has the power themselves to stop the judge, temporarily stop the judge's order today from taking effect, or if the Department of Justice has to get that stay approved by someone. And also it said at the earliest possible time the Department of Justice intends to file this. So I don't know what the earliest possible time is. Can they do that tonight? Can they do it over the weekend? Did they got to wait till Monday? Is it past Monday? I don't know. So all of this is stuff I don't know, but we are bringing you here the latest information as it happens. And another piece of information that I think is super interesting, and I think it's important, and I don't know if other people are reporting this, but I'm reporting it because it's important. Basically about like around the same time the White House statement came out, maybe a minute before, President Trump actually posted a tweet, but it had nothing to do at all with all of this. President Trump's tweet from 32 minutes ago, and this is his first tweet for like 4 hours, and there has been no tweet since from him. 32 minutes ago, he sends out a tweet that says, countries charge U.S. companies taxes or tariffs while the U.S. charges them nothing or little. We should charge them same as they charge us. And that's a tweet about like tariff policy, trade policy. And it is fascinating to me that he came out with this tweet now. And I don't know if that's supposed to be a message like, hey, I'm not bothered by this judge's ruling that like I'm going to tweet about something else. It's amazing to me that he's given one tweet in the last 4 hours, one tweet a half an hour ago, and it was about tariff policy. So I leave it to you to speculate as to what to make of that. So if you want to reach me here, we'd love to have your comments, your questions. People have been giving me tips. We've been pretty on the ball here tonight. So like people said like, hey, Sean Spicer. I think Teresa Mycia sent in like, hey, Sean Spicer, or Chris Watson might have said that. But one of them said like, hey, Sean Spicer sending out tweets, but we already knew. One of them said the president tweeted, but we already knew. We had them. But we love to get, if you have tips, good links, new stories on websites that you've seen about this situation that you think might be good for us to know, give me a heads up. We love to have you help out cover this stuff here. Chris has a question. Chris says, does Sean Spicer live at the White House with Trump? What about the rest of his staff? I don't believe Sean Spicer or the staff, like the presidential staff, like the cabinet, lives at the White House. I'm guessing maybe they sleep there overnight if there's like an important event, like they pull an all-nighter or something. Maybe they sleep on the couch. I don't know. I don't know if there's certain staff that sleeps there. An interesting question. So that's my best answer, Chris, to your question. And I think there were some other comments here. Let's see. Yes. No, nothing new relevant to this. So let us check. The best information I've been getting tonight is I periodically just check my Twitter account or my Twitter feed and sort of see what everybody's tweeting about. And I will say this. When I ran out to take my break, I couldn't believe this. I don't know if Fox News has been covering this story all night. So Fox News, as of 5 minutes ago, was not covering the story. They were rerunning something, as far as I could tell, whereas MSNBC and CNN were covering the story. And it's not like the story is done. Like there are breaking developments. I mean, that White House statement came out just a short while ago. So, and I will say also, I first saw this story on the air about 2 hours ago now. And at that point in time, Fox News was also not covering it. Now, I don't know. To me, that's pretty inexcusable. I mean, it's a very important news story, and if you call yourself a big news station, you should cover this important news story. Now, the one thought I had is like, well, they might think the story is somewhat anti-Trump or makes Trump look bad, so don't cover it. But it's like, that's not going to fly. And also, like surely somebody is there. Surely they pay people to be there on Friday night. So I am utterly baffled by why they wouldn't be covering the story live, unless, you could, maybe somebody high up at Fox News has connections to President Trump and thinks like, well, it'll look good for us if we don't cover this story and don't publicize it. I don't know. I find it inexcusable that they're a major news channel and they're not covering this event tonight. Now, maybe at this point in time they are, but when I was outside 10 minutes ago, they were not. So, but we are. So there you go. Okay, let me look at my Twitter feed and see if there's anything new about this story. Let's see. Oh, and let's see what else. I'm not seeing anything quite new yet, it's a bit odd because to me this is ongoing. There's a lot of uncertainty about what's going on with this ruling right now. Who exactly does it apply to? And so as of right now, I have not in the recent minutes seen anything. Let me also look real quick at a couple of the news sites. Oh, well, there's some other breaking news that this is just reported by the New York Times 2 minutes ago. President Trump's pick for Army Secretary Vincent Viola dropped out. The billionaire Wall Street trader cited business conflicts. So that's some more breaking news that President Trump's picks for Army Secretary Vincent Viola dropped out, according to the New York Times. The billionaire Wall Street trader cited business conflicts. I don't know if that's the real reason or if there's another reason. I am just reading that and finding that out now. I am looking also to see if there's any more recent information on this whole situation where a judge has issued an order today temporarily halting some or all of President Trump's executive order travel ban. And the last Wall Street Journal update was 29 minutes ago. That's probably not going to help us. Let's check out this newspaper and see if this is going to help us. Very odd to me. There should be more news coming out because this is a fluid situation. The last Washington Post update was an hour ago. Boy, so all right, so here's what I'll say. Let me take a second. Let's take stock for a second and then we'll go back to Twitter and go back to the news feed. And also, let me also say again, I would love to read your comments on the air. I'd love to take your questions. I'd love any tips you might have about this story. Maybe you have a good link that you found with good updates about this. You can go to Twitter, @Lookner, @LOOKNER, and direct message me, and I'll get it, and I can read it here. So to recap, the federal judge today has given a ruling that has had the effect of temporarily halting some or all of President Trump's travel ban executive order. Now, I just want to talk for a second about this whole thing. There's a tweet. Oh, and I do have a question, so I should get to that. So Ellie Avenel writes in, how can a judge lift the immigration ban? So the judge did not lift the ban. My understanding is the judge put a temporary stay on the ban. So the ban has not been lifted, but maybe that's what you meant, temporary lift. So the basic idea, as far as I understand it, is that the state of Washington filed a lawsuit, and I believe a number of states filed such lawsuits, but the state of Washington did, and the state of Washington filed a lawsuit in federal court that said, we believe this executive order is unconstitutional. And from the stuff I heard earlier tonight, and I was hearing this on CNN, and I know some of you hate when I refer to it, but I was watching that CNN earlier tonight. I heard people saying that what happened is in the state of Washington, in this federal court that they were in, the judge could issue a temporary hold on the executive order if the judge thought that something like the lawsuit had a decent chance of winning. That I'm sure that's not the legal language, but it's something like that. So apparently what happened is the judge was sympathetic enough to the law. The judge thought that the lawsuit had a good enough chance of winning, and by winning, that would be getting a ruling that the executive order was indeed unconstitutional, that the judge had the power, the legal power, to put a temporary hold on the executive order. And you can see the reasoning behind this. So in our system of government, there are checks and balances. And one check and balance is that the judicial branch has a check on the executive branch. So the judicial branch can stop the executive branch, what the president is in. Is the president the whole? No, it's not just the president, but the president is the head of the executive branch. If the executive branch is doing something unconstitutional, the judicial branch has an ability to put a check on that and put a hold on that. And So I could see it making some sense that in the law it's written somewhere that if somebody files a lawsuit that says the executive branch is doing something unconstitutional and the judge thinks there's a decent chance of that suit winning, the judge at least could put a temporary hold on the executive order. So that's basically the idea of what's happened. The reason that the judge can put this temporary hold on is it's part of our system of government that we have checks and balances, and that in certain cases the judicial branch can put holds on things that the executive branch does. Let us see if there are any more questions here. So again, if you want to reach me, I'm at Lookner, at Lookner. Direct message me on Twitter. I'll get your comment. I'll get your question. I'll try to read it on the air. So I want to go back. So something for us to keep in mind, I think, for me to keep in mind, but I'm guessing a lot of you too, is just, this is an important moment. Let's take stock for a second. This is an important moment in President Trump's presidency. So it's the first time anything he's done has been put on hold because it was possibly unconstitutional. How will he react to that? So now we've seen the White House statement, but we haven't heard from President Trump directly. And he sent out one tweet a half an hour ago or 40 minutes ago, which had nothing to do with this, which is about economic policy. What will President Trump say? Will he be angry? Will he not be angry? Will he be defiant? Will he say something tonight? Will he tweet something at 2 a.m? I personally have a hard time thinking that President Trump will not say anything about this even on Twitter until tomorrow. I'd be shocked. I mean, that would be different pattern than we've seen before with President Trump. So even though there's a White House statement out, so I'm going to be checking his Twitter feed a lot. And let's see. We have another comment that just came in. Ozzy's sister sent in a question and said, how is it unconstitutional? So her comment was, how is it unconstitutional? It only protects American citizens' rights. So I believe what Ozzy's sister is asking is, how is it that the executive order, the travel ban executive order, could be unconstitutional? So Ozzy's sister, this is a good question. What is the argument that it's unconstitutional? Because President Trump and the White House think it's constitutional because President Trump thinks it's and the White House say, according to the law, it's in the president's power to take whatever actions on immigration policy are necessary to protect the people. The president gets a lot of leeway there. So you might wonder, how is it what is the argument that it's unconstitutional? Now, I read something about this earlier tonight about what the state of Washington was saying. Here's one argument that the state of Washington was making in its lawsuit. I believe the state of Washington made this argument. They said the executive order is unconstitutional because it discriminates against certain minority groups, and that's not allowed in this country. And you might say, well, how is it discriminatory? What part of what their argument is, and this is from stuff I read earlier, so this is not going to be exactly right, but it's the general idea, that I believe the state of Washington said, if you look at things President Trump said before the executive order, where he would talk about wanting a Muslim ban, that kind of talk suggests that this executive order actually is a Muslim ban, even though technically it's not a Muslim ban. So if you look at the order itself, it doesn't seem like a Muslim ban, but if you consider the stuff Trump was saying about wanting a Muslim ban before that, we can see this executive order is intended to be a Muslim ban. And Muslim bans aren't allowed because they're discriminatory against Muslims, therefore it's unconstitutional. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with that argument. I'm just saying one of the arguments the state of Washington made was that there was a discrimination, this order was discriminatory, and they cited things President Trump said before. Now, ultimately, this could go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court could reject that argument. And also, I will have you know, I had heard people say on TV earlier tonight, some people said that the specific court in Seattle where this ruling was made is known as a very liberal court. So perhaps that court was sympathetic to this argument in a way that other courts would not be. So that's one argument for its unconstitutionality. And another argument I believe Washington made is they made some kind of argument that this executive order was harming people in their state because, for example, it had broken up families in the state and it prevented companies from sending people to travel places. I'm not sure how harming people in the state is used to support the argument that it's unconstitutional, but I'm guessing there's some legal reasoning there. So anyways, if you want to see why so basically we have the White House saying this is constitutional because, look, the law says the president has huge leeway to organize immigration policy as he wants to protect Americans. And that's the argument that it's constitutional, whereas the other side has different legal arguments that they say makes it unconstitutional, and one of them might be that it's discriminating against some group that the Constitution doesn't allow, whereas the Constitution doesn't allow such discrimination. So there's these kind of issues. So to really know how they can do this, what would be nice is to have the written order from the judge so we could actually see what the judge actually said. So we are again here. We are giving you live breaking news coverage here at Right Side Broadcasting of a federal judge earlier today or this evening issued a order which in effect put a temporary halt on President Trump's executive order, which involved the travel bans on immigrants and refugees that came out earlier this week. We don't know if the judge's ruling put a temporary halt on part of President Trump's executive order or all of President Trump's executive order. No one seems to know this because the complete written ruling has not been released yet. So there's confusion over that. We also just reported recently. This came out. It's a different story, but it had come out that President Trump's choice for the Secretary of the Army is withdrawing his candidacy. So that happened. And then I have another report here. Look on the New York Times. Maybe I can get this. Let's see. The New York Times says airlines were this happened. Airlines were allowing formerly barred passengers to fly. So we received reports a little while ago, maybe about an hour ago, that the American authorities had told airlines to now go back to letting the people on they were letting on before the executive order. So as of, an hour or two ago, airlines were officially not enforcing the executive order at all because they had been told by, I believe, the Customs and Border Patrol agency to not do that. So all of that's going on. We had a White House statement come out. I believe that some people have sent me a couple of questions. Let's see here. Gokul Talapanuri writes, how much power does the federal judge have over the executive order so it will not be overruled if the president takes the issue to court? So my understanding is that, so the federal judge already has issued a temporary halt on the executive order. So the federal judge has that power. The federal judge eventually can rule, I believe this federal court where this lawsuit was filed, they can issue a ruling on this lawsuit. So the federal court could come out and say, hey, this lawsuit, we're siding with the lawsuit. The executive order is unconstitutional. But remember, this is not the Supreme Court. I think this is it a district court where this happened? Let me look. It's I'll tell you in a second. Is it a district court? Is it a circuit court? Where is it? Well, this article is of a district court. So this judge in the state of Washington is at a district court. But no matter what this district court does, so from what I had heard earlier is a bunch of different states filed lawsuits in various federal courts about this executive order. And a bunch of states said, hey, this executive order is unconstitutional and we're suing. But there have been different rulings in different judges in different courts have said different things about these lawsuits. And I had heard that because there's like conflicting rulings, like so the judge in Washington says it's probably unconstitutional, whereas a judge in some other state says this law isn't this ruling isn't unconstitutional, and we should keep enforcing it. So the judge in Seattle tonight said, let's temporarily stop enforcing the executive order, whereas I think maybe a judge in Massachusetts today said, like, no, keep enforcing the executive order. I think I'm getting that right, but I do know that there have been different rulings. And from what I had heard is when there are conflicting rulings in these district federal courts, then eventually that means that it's going to go up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is the one that will settle it once and for all. Or they'll somehow, so once it gets, so these different individual courts have power to, I guess, issue these temporary halts. But But the thing is that there's a higher court, and that's where it looks like it's ultimately going to go. So, and I am not a judicial expert on all this stuff. I'm giving you basically what I know. So I hope I answered your question. I guarantee you I didn't answer it as well as, say, a law professor could, but I did the best I could with the information I had. So thank you for that question. If you want to ask a question or send a comment in, love to hear from you. At Lookner, at Lookner, on Twitter, and direct message me, and I can get your comment, or I can get your question, or I can get your link you sent me of a cool news story that just came out related to this. So I'm going to check my Twitter feed again and see if there's anything new happening. Let's see. Has President Trump tweeted? I don't know. Let's see. I'm looking. I am seeing. Okay, so this is interesting. This is a little news. So Jamie Dupree. And Jamie Dupree covers Congress in D.C. for a number of stations, WSB Atlanta, WDBO Orlando. I follow Jamie Dupree. Jamie Dupree, according to Jamie Dupree, he tweeted 8 minutes ago, and his name, just so if you want to look at it for yourself, it's Jamie Dupree. And he tweeted out 8 minutes ago a tweet that says, the White House issued 2 statements. And according to Jamie Dupree, the first statement called the ruling outrageous, and the second version dropped this word. So according to Jamie Dupree, the first statement from the White House was, at the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of this outrageous order. And then later, the White House released another statement, which was the same, but without the word outrageous in it. So it just said the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of this order. So the White House took the word outrageous out of their statement at some point in time. So that's an interesting tweet from Jamie Dupree. So Jamie Dupree had this. He has the original statement. He has the revised statement. So it seems like he has pretty good evidence that there was this change in the statements. Let's see. Another something else that came from Jamie Dupree is Jamie Dupree says. The judge in Washington, the judge in the case, is this the case that he's, yes. The judge in Washington who ruled on this case, who put the temporary hold on President Trump's travel ban executive order, was appointed by President George W. Bush, and the Senate approved this person 99-0. So that's a little fact about this going on. Let's go back to Twitter and see if there's other stuff that's new that's coming out. And I might read the White House statements again, just so you can hear it again if you haven't heard it yet. What else? Is there anything else? It's very strange to me. It's like because this is a and we also have Politico now has an article up on the Trump's Army Secretary nominee withdrawing over, and I guess they say over financial issues in his vetting. So I don't know much about that story now, but if you want to look about how President Trump's Army Secretary withdrew his nomination tonight, you can go to, I know Politico has an article about it, so you can go to them and look at it. So let me see if there's some comments here, and if they're not, I'm going to read. All right, what I would like to do. I was just sending something. So Ozzy Sister, did you just send me the ruling itself? You sent me something. Ozzy Sister just sent me like some sort of court ruling from Washington, but I don't know if this is the right ruling, so I'm going to hold off on this right now because I'm not going to read 14 pages to you. So one thing I should do is I should read the White House statement again. So remember, what happened earlier is that a federal court judge put a temporary hold on President Trump's travel ban executive order. And the White House released a statement about it tonight. And I want to read to you that statement in case you haven't heard it. And it was on Sean Spicer. We had some excitement as we were reading it, just as Sean Spicer was posting it in 6 different tweets. And Sean Spicer posted it. And here is the statement that he posted. Now this is odd. This is very interesting. I believe I'm at the right place here. Oh, I went to the wrong Sean Spicer. I was like, why is that the case? Now I'm so confused. Let's see here. Well, you know what it is? I got to go to @press secretary. I'm sorry, folks. I did a search of Sean Spicer on Twitter, and I believe I got his personal account secretary. There we go. @press secretary. So Sean Spicer tweeted out, this is the White House statement that they came out with 45 minutes ago about the judge's ruling that put a temporary hold on Trump's executive order, travel ban executive order. This is the White House statement. At the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay of the order and defend the executive order of the president, which we believe is lawful and appropriate. The president's order is intended to protect the country, and he has the constitutional authority and responsibility to protect the American people. As the law states, whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on entry of aliens any restrictions may deem to be appropriate. So the White House seems to be saying that get it here on my iPad, and I can read your comment or answer your question or any of those things. Chris Wasson actually sent in a question. He said, what city is on the green screen behind me? I don't know what city that is. I honestly have no idea. So I like not knowing because sound is down. Micah, did we lose sound? Oh, it's back. Okay, we are back. Thank you, Ozzy sister, for letting me know that sound was down for a second. I would say kind of like you guys, I'm kind of waiting to hear more on this situation that's going on here, because it seems like there's still some confusion about how much of the executive order has been put on hold. We don't know if the whole executive order has been put on hold or some of it. So there's that question. Also, I'm interested in seeing what's going on with these airlines. So I've been told that the airlines are supposed to just let everybody board now, that couldn't board according to the executive order. But if we don't know whether the whole executive order has been put on hold or part of the executive order has put on hold, how do the airlines know who to let on the planes now? Do they let everybody who's covered by the executive order on the planes now, or do they still keep some people off? So very confusing situation. And I would think that maybe tonight there'll hopefully be some more clarity about this. I have a hard time believing that the breaking news is done for the night. Now maybe that is. I can't believe there's not going to be more stuff that comes out about this. So that's why we're on the air right now. And we would love to take any comments you have. Direct message me at Lookner at LOOKNER. So on Twitter. So if I was going to predict, I'm going to take a second to try to predict what President Trump will do. I think he will tweet about this tonight, because I feel like this has been like a challenge that's been issued to him, and he is not one to back down from a challenge. So I would be really surprised if it got to tomorrow morning and we've heard nothing from President Trump. Now maybe we won't, but maybe we'll see a tweet like if I can imagine what tweet will he come out with? I can imagine seeing a tweet ridiculous ruling by bad Washington judge, bad law, look at the Constitution, executive order, totally constitutional. I think that's longer than 140 characters, but that's my best guess as to what this tweet the president might send out tonight is. I have no idea if he'll send out a tweet, but that's a guess I have. So we'll see if he sends one out, if I'm actually, how close I am, if I'm right or not. Let's see here. We have a comment here from, let's see. You said, this is a comment from somebody not about this story, so I'm going to hold off on it for now. And what else here? So I'm also really interested in knowing if the Justice Department is going to file this emergency stay. How soon can they do that? I have no idea how soon they can do that. I wish I knew. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to go to a different site. Let's see if, I'm going to type in travel ban halt live and see, because sometimes like newspapers have these things where they have these sites where they update all the breaking news and stuff. Let's see, The Guardian has it, so let's see if The Guardian's page tells us anything new. I got to The Guardian's live page. Okay, The Guardian has a live update thing, okay, and it has something from a few minutes ago. What did they say? That is not really news. We already reported that. So even The Guardian, so the one thing The Guardian is saying is that this whole legal controversy is happening while President Trump is taking a weekend break at his Mar-a-Lago resort with his wife Melania this weekend. So perhaps President Trump was going to be somewhat relaxed this weekend, although I'm guessing presidents always work on the weekends anyway. But he is down there in Florida while this is happening. And there's a quote here on the Guardian website from the state Washington Attorney General, who was, I believe, one of the people who filed this suit in Washington State that resulted in the judge's order today. And it says, the Guardian says, Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson hailed the court decision as the first order of its kind and declared that it shuts down the executive order immediately. Ferguson said, no one is above the law, not even the president. So clearly, the Attorney General of Bob Ferguson of Washington thinks this executive order was unconstitutional. But aside from that, there's not really new news on that page. Let's see if there's any other live sites covering this. We have CNN. Are they going to give me any live updates? We'll try them. No, they are not. They are not. I would encourage any of you, if you know, Norway, we finally heard from you, Norway. Where were you? Norway, were you taking a nap? So I thought you didn't sleep. So Norway just tweeted out a link to this coverage. Thank you, Norway. Ellie Avenel wants to know, can Trump fire that judge for lifting the ban should an attack occur? No, Trump can. I don't believe Trump can fire that judge. I don't believe that is in the power of the president. The judge's responsibility is just to is to rule on the law as the judge sees it. And so the judge would say the judge was just doing the job. So, and I will say this, we don't want, I don't think we'd want a country in which the president could just fire all the judges. That's what you see in like dictatorships, because, someone out there might say, well, I'm a Trump fan. So if these judges are not agreeing with Trump, we should fire them. But the problem with that is, what if a president comes in who you don't like, and that president fires all the judges, and then there's no one to keep a check and balance on the president. So we have these checks and balances in this country which prevent any one branch, judicial, executive, legislative, from taking too much power, and prevent the president from taking too much power. And in some cases that can be annoying if you're siding with the president, but overall it prevents like a dictatorship kind of thing happening. But a good question, thank you. We have here from Ellie, thank you for the question. Lady for Truth says, Steve, reread the statement from the Attorney General because RSBN audio was off for a while. I think do you mean the statement from the Attorney General of Washington? Is that what you mean? Because I can reread that. Guardian Live coverage. Sorry, I'm calling back. I'm getting that, getting back that page here with that statement on it. And you know what? I can't find it anymore. If I can find it again, I will read it again, but I'm not sure which statement you were talking about. So, please, if you have comments, write them in. I'd love to hear your comments or your questions or any links you might find with helpful information about this story. At Lookner, go to at LOOKNER on Twitter and direct message me, and I will get your message right here. So we are continuing live coverage of the judge's order today in Washington State, and that order temporarily halted some or all of President Trump's travel ban executive order from earlier this week. And we also have this other story that I keep seeing little things about, that Trump's pick for Army Secretary withdrew his name from consideration, but we don't really know the details on that. So let's see if there's any. Washington Post has a updated story. Is there any new information? So let me just read you the first couple paragraphs of the Washington Post story, which they just filed like 15 minutes ago. This is by Matt Zapotosky, Justin Juvenile, and Ann Marimo. Here's the first couple paragraphs of the Washington Post story. A federal judge in Washington State on Friday temporarily blocked enforcement of President Trump's controversial ban on entry into the United States, and government authorities immediately began taking steps that would allow those previously affected to travel, according to a U.S. official familiar with the matter. The ruling from Judge James L. Robart was broader than similar ones before it, and it prompted officials to immediately communicate with airlines. At the same time, though, the White House said in a statement the Justice Department would, at the earliest possible time, file for an emergency stay of the, quote, outrageous ruling from the judge. Minutes later, it issued a similar statement removing the word outrageous. The White House said the president's order is intended to protect the homeland, and he has the constitutional authority and responsibility to protect the American people. The judge's ruling set up a high-stakes legal confrontation between the new president and the judicial branch over his temporary ban on refugees and citizens from 7 Muslim-majority countries. In his opinion, Robert wrote that fundamental to the court's work was a vigilant recognition that it is but one of 3 equal branches of our federal government. And this is, so we're getting some information. We're getting some stuff from the actual written ruling. And I'm continuing reading from this Washington Post article that was just posted. So another part of the judge's ruling said the court concludes that the circumstances brought before it today are such that it must intervene to fulfill its constitutional role in our tripart government. The ruling is temporary, and the ultimate question of whether Trump's executive order will pass constitutional muster will fall to higher-level courts. Legal analysts have said the ban could be difficult to permanently undo because the president has broad authority to set immigration policy. And then I'm reading another paragraph. Again, thank you, Washington Post. I'm reading from the story you just posted about 15 minutes ago. I'm going to continue reading the story. Robart granted a request from lawyers for the state of Washington who had asked him to stop the government from acting on the critical sections of Trump's order. Justice and State Department officials revealed earlier Friday that about 60,000 and possibly as many as 100,000 visas already had been provisionally revoked as a result of Trump's order. A U.S. official said because of the court case today, officials would examine the revoking of those visas so that people would be allowed to travel. Let me see if there's anything else here. Oh, here's the quote from the Washington Attorney General. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson hailed the case as the first of its kind and declared that it shuts down the executive order immediately. Robert, a judge appointed by George W. Bush, said in written order that U.S. officials should stop enforcing the key aspects of the ban, the halting of entry by refugees and citizens from certain countries. He did not specifically address the matter of those whose visas had already been revoked. The Justice Department said in a statement that it was reviewing the court's order and will determine the next steps. A State Department official said the agency was working closely with the Department of Homeland Security and our legal teams to determine how this affects our operations. Let's see. It says immigration lawyers said Friday night they were still assessing the Washington case, although they were heartened by it. Let's see. And so we have a little more information here, and I want to say thank you. Yep, I want to say thank you to the Washington Post for that article that we just read a fair amount of. It's called Federal Judge Temporarily Blocks Trump's Entry Order Nationwide. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover this for a few more minutes. The news seems to be getting more slow on this. It was kind of coming fast and furious before. So we're going to spend a few more minutes on this. I want to give you guys a last chance to write in any questions or comments you might have. And you can reach me at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. Please feel free to follow me as well. And I do, just so you know, if you're and follow Right Side Broadcasting at RSB Network. And if you follow me, I do promise that whenever I do breaking news coverage here at Right Side, I try to do it whenever there's breaking news, and we try to do it whenever there's breaking news. I will send out a tweet. So if you follow me on Twitter, you will get alerted to whenever I'm doing breaking news coverage. And so let's maybe sum up what's going on here before we kind of do our final sign-off. So let's go back a step. So starting earlier in the week, President Trump issued this executive order that banned travel to the U.S. from refugees and immigrants from various countries in various situations. And if you want the details on that, there's 3 parts of it. You can go online and look it up. Today, just a few hours ago, a judge in Washington, a federal judge, issued a temporary halt on the travel ban. And we were initially wondering whether it was some or part of the travel ban. From the article I just read in the Washington Post, it seemed to suggest that all 3 of those parts of the travel ban were temporarily halted by this judge's ruling. Once that happened, we saw later in the evening, we got reports that the American authorities were telling airlines to now let anyone board planes. They were no longer enforcing the executive order. So anybody who could board a plane and come to the U.S. prior to the executive order could now, as of tonight, get on a plane and come to the U.S. again. So we heard that. And then we heard a statement from the White House saying that the Department of Justice, first of all, the White House disagrees with the judge's ruling. They think the executive order was constitutional and the president was in his authority to do this, his legal authority. And the Department of Justice is going to, as soon as they can, we don't know exactly when that is, as soon as they can, file a emergency stay, which I guess if it's successful, I'm not sure if it has to be approved by somebody, but if they do file this emergency stay and all goes as planned, that emergency stay would nullify the judge's ruling today, and we would go back to enforcing the executive order. So I guess the airlines would have to stop people from coming on today. So the whole situation is very fluid right now. We have not heard anything specifically from President Trump. In a very fascinating turn of events, right around the time the White House released their statement, President Trump sent out his one tweet of the last few hours, but it had to do with tariff policy and nothing to do with this. So I leave to you what to make of that. We have a question coming here late from Paul Burns. Who can overrule the Washington judge? Paul Burns, right? One judge on the Supreme Court, well, I think ultimately the Supreme Court can rule, I believe, on the issue of the constitutionality of this executive order. But I'm not sure if there are other people who could. It sounds like the Department of Justice can file for an emergency stay, which would nullify, or in some sense temporarily nullify, the Washington judge's ruling. I'm not sure exactly on who else could overrule the Washington judge. So I'm not a legal scholar, so I don't know this. It's a good question, but thank you for the question, Paul. So I guess for now that there looks like, I'm going to do one last check of my Twitter just to make sure that that nothing late in the game happened here. And I'm not really seeing any new news, but I don't know about you guys, I'm going to be watching my Twitter feed later tonight. I'm going to be seeing if President Trump tweets about this. I'm really interested in seeing what President Trump has to say about this either tonight or tomorrow. I'm guessing maybe will he speak from Mar-a-Lago perhaps about this in the morning? Will he speak about it tonight? Will he tweet about it tonight or in the morning? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Will he be angry? I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. What will end up happening with this ruling? Will ultimately the ruling be? Will ultimately the executive order stay in effect, or will it ultimately be overturned, or will ultimately determine it's unconstitutional? I don't know. Will be interesting to see. So lots of stuff happening, and I will say this: even though it's a weekend coming up, Right Side, we are committed to giving you breaking news. So if big breaking news with this story happens this weekend, we will do our best to get on right away and report it to you. And if other breaking news happens, we will do our best to get right on to report it to you. And if you want an alert for when I report this stuff, follow me at Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. And I should briefly say, we appreciate you watching Right Side Broadcasting. And we always appreciate your donations because it costs money to do this stuff, and we don't take giant corporate donations. And if you want to donate to us, you can go to gofundme.com/nextgenrsbn. That's where you can find our donate page. And I got a late question, I believe, so before we go. Well, Norway, I want to ask your question. You say, how can it be unconstitutional to ban potential foreign terrorists from a foreign country? Well, as I said before, I believe one of the arguments was that, given by the state of Washington, was that this executive order was somehow discriminatory in a way that it discriminated against some minority in a way, or a group of people that the Constitution doesn't allow. So that's an argument, Norway. I don't know if that will satisfy you, but that's an argument the state of Washington gave. And we have a couple more comments here. I just want to make sure I get to them all. So that looks like about where we're at right now. I feel sorry for people who, maybe there's someone who traveled out of the country, didn't know the executive order was going to happen. Then the executive order happened, they couldn't get back in. And then tonight they were told, maybe you can get back in, but they can't. Maybe there's no flights from their country tonight, and they're sort of sitting there and they're saying well, how do I get back in? And I'm assuming this person was like somebody. There were some stories about people who were caught. They had been here for a while and they had green cards or whatever, but then they were caught out of the country. So, but I guess my point is that I think when there's confusion about this stuff, it's bad for everybody. So I just want it to be cleared up. That would be nice if it was cleared up soon. And I just think for everybody's benefit, stuff should be cleared up. And I do think, the White House statement does make a case, and from what I've heard, it's a strong case that the president has a lot of leeway when it comes to setting immigration policy. So, but what will the courts say? So it looks like now it's a matter of the courts to decide whether President Trump's executive order, including the travel bans, will stand or not. So we will be following this the next few days or the next few weeks, however long it takes. And we hope you've enjoyed our breaking news coverage tonight. And we hope thank you for watching so much. Thank you for all your comments and your questions. We really appreciate them. Thank you for watching Right Side in general. Without you, there's no network, and we appreciate it. Thank you to the moderators, as always, for moderating the chat rooms. We so appreciate that. And from us for now, we'll say good night and keep your eye on Right Side, because when there's breaking news coming up about this or other stories, we will be sure to come on and report it to you. But for now, have a great night, and thank you for joining us here tonight. And thank you to Micah Messer for sticking around and producing late. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Micah, for coming in and filling in for a couple of minutes while I had to take my break. So thank you, Micah. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.